for some rum, some pistols, some gun, whatever they had. They bought you. That's why it was called a slave trade. So, and you should ask yourself, well, why would some other black people that look like me sell me? I mean, anybody can sell anybody, but they didn't have no remorse in selling you because they knew you was from another nationality. See, we think again that it's all about black. It's a black thing. We're not doing this lesson because it's a black thing. We just pointing out that Israel is a black people. And I might add a black people, one black people from among a whole lot of black people. Well, you say, well, how can you know which black people Israel is? That's where you get to the other part of this lesson, because the black people who Israel is cursed by God. Cursed by God. That's how you're going to identify them as opposed to the Egyptians or the Ethiopians or other black people. Israel is a black people that's been cursed to the ground by God. So now read all of that again. We got a little time. Go ahead.
He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes.
But not the Negroes. So they wrote this. They knew that this person called Negroes, which we can change that a few times, and that's a reason for that. Because now he would say he became the progenitor of the dark races, but not the blacks. That wouldn't make no sense. So they just spelled it out. He became the progenitor of the dark races, but not the Negroes. So where did the Negro come from? Did the Negroes just drop out the sky? He didn't come from Ham. We know he didn't come from Japhet. Why? But he came from Shem, because Japhet is the father of basically the white races. So he came from Shem. That's the only other choice left. He became the progenitor of the dark race, but not the Negroes, but who?
But the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, the Libyans, and Canaanites.
And then they quote Genesis 10 as backup for what they're saying. But they know Ham is the father of the dark races, but not the Negroes. The Negroes came from somewhere else. Why? Because we came from Shem. And we're going to get to that. But we all look alike. But now I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to read even from another encyclopedia. Read the rest of that, though, from the New Compact Bible Dictionary. Go ahead.
His indecency when his father lay drunken brought a curse upon Canaan.
See, and that's in the Bible. It's talking about Ham's indecency. Some went on, he saw Noah drunk and act crazy, and that brought a curse upon Canaan. That's who the Bible said the curse was put upon, not upon Ham, but upon his son Canaan. But now, we're going to throw a bonus in here because we didn't have this on the handout. We're going to read from another encyclopedia to the right, the World Book Encyclopedia. And it's under Hamite this time. The World Book Encyclopedia under Hamite. Go ahead.
Hamite is a member of a group that entered Africa from Asia long ago. In some areas, the Hamites conquered the Negroes and mixed with them.
Wait a minute now. They keep distinguishing, some people call the Negroes, which is black, the word Negro, even the word that people say you shouldn't say nigger, it really, I can say it here, they beep it out on TV. But even that word simply really mean black. It's been misused to mean derogatory and negative stuff. But the original word mean black. Even they got a Spanish word called Niger, which mean black. But so Negro, it mean black, but they keep distinguishing the people called Negroes from these other black nationalities, aren't they? That's what it said. Read it again. In some areas.
In some areas, the Hamites conquered the Negroes and mixed with them.
Okay, so now the Hamites, which we read are black. Ham is the father of the dark races, but in some areas the Hamites conquered the Negroes and mixed with them. But now that's good. We might read a little bit more of this because I didn't put it on the lesson, but we might read something else that's on there. Now we're going to go back to the Bible, to Psalm 105. Psalm 105. See, when you can read outside stuff that coincide with the Bible, that just lets you know for sure. If you have some doubts about what the Bible is saying, that just add to it. And again, we didn't write that saying that the Negroes were didn't come from Ham. But now we're going to show you some differences. Psalm 105, and we're going to pick it up at verse 23. 105 and 23, and it's going to be about what we just got through reading about in the encyclopedia about Ham. 105 and 23. Go ahead.
Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham.
See, now just like it pointed out that the Negroes didn't come from Ham, well, we know Israel didn't come from Ham because you can trace Israel back to Shem, and we're not even going to go through all of that. You can trace him back to Noah's other son, Shem. So Israel, the Arabs, the Edomites, all of these nationalities came from Shem. We read about some of the Japhats, the Gentile nationalities, Javan, the Greeks, and we read about some of them, and we read about some of the Hamites. The nationalities came from them. We read about the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, and all of that. But Israel didn't come from Ham. They came from Shem. But now Israel was always in close proximity to these Hamites. In other words, all these black people was living around each other. So even right here it's telling you that. Now we back to Israel because we've been reading about all the other nations now so we can compare apples with apples. We back to Israel here in Psalm 105:23. Read that again.
Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham.
See, it used Israel and Jacob interchangeably. Jacob's name was changed to Israel in Genesis 32. That's how the nation of Israel started with Jacob. Jacob was Abraham's grandson. Isaac was his father, was Abraham's son. So this is telling us about something that happened back before Moses' time, which we're going to get to all of this. But it said Israel also came into Egypt. Again, Egypt is Mizraim. Israel came into Egypt. Then it said Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham. So it's calling Egypt what? The land of Ham. Because that's the name of Africa before it was named Africa. It was just the land of Ham. Because Ham fathered the nations that inhabited Africa. Ham fathered those nations. That's why we saw he's the progenitor of the dark races, right? But not absolutely every dark race, because we say they saw he wasn't the father of the Negro. So anyway, it's calling Egypt Ham here. It's just repeating itself. Israel came into Egypt and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham. That means Israel is among these Hamites, right? These black people, right? Didn't we read that the Hamites conquered some Negroes? See, I'm showing you all these people was black. But if they not all black, if Israel is white, then we'll see the difference, won't we? Go ahead, 24.
And he increased his people greatly and made them stronger than their enemies.
See, when they went into Egypt, that's when they started getting oppressed before Moses' time. But it all started with Joseph, which was Israel, Jacob's son. Whose name was changed to Israel. It all started with him. So Israel came into Egypt, Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham. He increased his people greatly and did what? And made them stronger than their enemies. Go ahead.
He turned their heart to hate his people, to deal subtly with his servants.
See, that's what happened in Egypt with Pharaoh. They started hating Israel. And we're going to read a little bit of this. But it's telling us in Psalm, but it's used the Egyptians' original name, which was Ham, right? He said he turned their heart to hate his people. That's when Pharaoh started punishing Israel after Joseph died. See, while Joseph was living, everything was straight because Joseph was running the country. But after Joseph died, then they started oppressing Israel. So that's what he's telling you here in Psalm. He turned their heart to hate his people, to deal subtly with his servants. See, all this got a meaning. It's here for a reason. Go ahead, verse 26.
He sent Moses his servant, and Aaron whom he had chosen.
See, and that's when he ended up sending Moses to deliver Israel out of Egypt. See, this is all showing you how God worked his plan through the nation of Israel. And you can't say it don't matter because when Jesus came, he turned around and said, I'm only sent to the lost sheep of Israel, right? So now, he turned the Egyptians to hate Israel. Then he turned around and sent Moses to deliver Israel. He sent Moses, servant of Aaron, whom he had chosen. And what did Moses and Aaron do in Egypt on behalf of God for Israel? What did they do? 27.
They show his signs among them and wonders in the land of Ham.
See, it keep calling Egypt the land of Ham. See, that's amazing to this day. they would tell you that Egypt and, you know, Israel, it's in a place called what? The Middle East. I always ask, the Middle East or what? How you going to tell me it's in the Middle East? It's still got to be on a continent. There's no continent called the Middle East, is it? See, but they done fooled people by calling it the Middle East. Look, all of that land is still on the African continent. He's telling you that Egypt is on Ham's continent, because that's what the name of Africa used to be. It used to just be the land of Ham. Africa is really a Roman general named Scipio Africanus. That's where that name comes from. But the original name is the land of Ham. That's why he's referring to it that way. So Israel, which was the Canaanites' land, which came from Ham. Egypt, which is Mizraim land, which came from Ham. The Ethiopians, which is the Cushite, the Cush land, came from Ham. All that is on the African continent, brothers and sisters. Don't let anybody make you think it's somewhere all by itself. They got the Suez Canal in there, but still, you can still see what continent it's on. It ain't in between continents. It's on the African continent. So that's why he said in verse 27, talking about Moses and Aaron, they showed his signs among them and his wonders in the land of Ham. Where in the land of Ham? In Egypt. All that went down in Egypt with Pharaoh, right? But Egypt is Ham's son, Mizraim. But now let's go back to it and read it. Back up to verse 16, because we're going to see how it started. Because Israel got into Egypt, the land of Ham, because they sold Joseph there. Go ahead, verse 16.
Moreover, he called for a famine upon the land. He brake the whole staff of bread.
See, we backed up to see how it got that way. See, God had made a famine over all the land, and that's how Israel ended up in Egypt. He's going to tell you, 6:17.
He sent a man before them, even Joseph, who was sold for a servant.
See, the other brothers of Joseph, the 10 brothers, was jealous of Joseph, and they sold him into Egypt. They wanted to kill him, but they sold him to the Midianites, who sold him to the Egyptians, and he ended up in Egypt. But God had a plan behind that. But now he says he sent a man before them, even Joseph, who they sold for a servant. Now let's go back and read about Joseph. All this going to start to come together in a minute. We're just getting some background information. Genesis 42 now. We're going to read about when it started in Egypt for Israel, because that's how it began. Joseph got sold there. They didn't think they was going to ever see Joseph again. They lied and told Jacob, their father, that Joseph was dead. They made it seem that way. They showed him an animal. That showed you Israel treacherous, boy. They showed him his coat that they was jealous of, dipped in blood from an animal's blood, and they showed it to him. They said, "Ain't that your son's coat?" He was like, "Oh, yeah." He think the boy dead. But they, being slick, had sold him into Egypt, but now it was part of God's plan, because when he sent a famine, they had to go into Egypt. And who was down in Egypt? God had blessed Joseph to run the country in Egypt. Little did they know. Genesis 42. Genesis 42 and 1. Go ahead.
Now, when Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, Jacob said unto his sons, "Why do ye look one upon another?" And he said, "Behold, I have heard that there is corn in Egypt. Get you down thither and buy for us from thence, that we may live and not die." See, that's that famine that it was just telling us about in Psalm 105. He sent a famine on all the land, and he had Joseph already planted in Egypt to save their crazy self. He had Joseph already there. They crazy enough to sell their brother in Egypt, but that's the one going to have to save you when it get hot and heavy. And so you be careful when you're doing people wrong. You'll be knocking on their door begging, "Yeah, you know, I didn't mean to do that, but God will do that to you." That's what he did to them. Now they end up going to Egypt looking for some bread, and who do they run into but Joseph, and they don't even recognize him, because it's been some years, it's been about 13 years. But we're going to point some stuff out to this. But all this is going on in Egypt, which is the land of Ham, which is, Ham is the father of black people, right? That's right.
But not the Negroes, not all black people, in other words.